Valve's recent announcement, the Steam Machine, is the talk of the town right now, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying that the Steam Machine may just be a console killer. It's coming for a big share of the console market. So, in this video, I want to share my thoughts on the Steam Machine. We'll do a quick recap about what the Steam Machine is, who I think the intended audience is, or who are the intended target consumers, and what impact I think it's going to have on the console market. So, let's just jump right into it and let's recap what is the Steam Machine. So, this is a device that was announced by Valve, targeted to come out in 2026, that is essentially a mini PC that plays as a console, right? So, the idea is that you can buy this device, hook it up to your TV, play just like any other console. It comes with its own controller, the Steam controller, and it's set to perform or play games at 4K 60 frames per second. It runs on Linux, or rather a flavor of Linux called SteamOS, Steam's own Linux version, and it's the same OS that runs today on the Steam Deck. And now again, at its core, this is really a PC, but it's streamlined to play as a console, right? So you plug it in, the controller works seamlessly, and you just run it, play it like any other console essentially. And they also announced it with a VR headset. So Steam is coming out as well with their own VR headset that you can use with this device. So that's a quick recap about what the Steam Machine is. And I think what separates it from a console is that at its core, it's a PC. So while you can use it like a console, you can also use it like a PC. So you can install your own software on it, do whatever you want to it. So that's maybe one of the cool things about it. Now we have to quickly talk about the look of the Steam Machine, and it's essentially a black cube. It's blacked out, doesn't stand out too much, and it does have that PC look, but it's definitely a lot smaller, something that's going to look better, in the living room, beside your TV, on your shelf with your other consoles. And I compared it to the size of the GameCube. It's actually very similar. Although, in my opinion, the GameCube did look a little bit better, and it also had that pretty awesome little carrying handle on the back. So, just saying, gotta give that to the GameCube. But overall, I think the Steam Machine looks fine. Really does just look like a cubic PC to me. And the controller as well looks not bad. So, I'm excited to see what they can do with this thing. So let's pivot now into who I think Valve is targeting with this device. What group of people? And in my head, I've kind of narrowed this down into three different groups. So the first one is, I think, going to be the biggest group of people interested in this device. And that's people who are PC gamers today that have a large library of games on Steam. And you got to realize that PC gamers have been around a long time, and the Steam store has been around now for about 20 years. I think it came out sometime in 2005, around there. So, roughly 20 years. And you've got people that have been building up game libraries on Steam for up to 20 years. So, there's a lot of people with huge libraries. And I think for that group of people, this device is going to be especially compelling because they can pick this up, hook it up to their TV, and play their entire existing library, from their couch on their TV as if it was a console. So that's a pretty compelling reason, I think, to pick this up if you already have a huge gaming library on Steam. And on top of that, you're getting 4K 60 frames per second. So seems like a sweet deal. The next group is kind of similar, and this is also PC users today, but it's a bit different in the sense that, this group in my mind are people who have a PC but are looking for a PC upgrade. So the vast majority of people, or certainly the majority, I would say, are not playing their PCs, are not gaming on PCs at 4K 60 frames per second. In fact, I would say more than half of people using PCs today, gaming on PCs, are not hitting those specs. So I think there's going to be a lot of PC gamers today that are going to be looking for an upgrade basically. And they're going to consider the Steam Machine as their next PC, as their next gaming platform, let's say. So they'll get rid of their existing PC, move on to the Steam Machine. And I think there'll be a good amount of people that will consider that, right? I mean, if it's truly 4K 60 frames per second and has a decent price, and we'll come back and talk about the price later, then I think the Steam Machine is a contender for people, wanting to upgrade their existing hardware, upgrade their existing PC. So that's the second group I think is going to be interested in this and that Valve is targeting. And the third, last but not least, is of course console owners, future console owners, people who are considering getting a Switch 2, maybe considering getting the PS6 in the future, or even people who have, Switch 2s and PS5s right now. So this is definitely going to appeal to some portion of console owners today when they're considering what is the next device that they want to buy, right? I mean, it's coming out 4K, 60 frames per second, functions just like any other console, plug and play. You also get the added benefit that it is a PC. So again, price is going to be a big determining factor here, but certainly there's going to be some people using consoles today that are going to transition over to the Steam Machine, but I also don't think it's going to be, a one-to-one transition. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who have a PS5 or get a PS6 in the future that will also pick up the Steam Machine, right? Just like a lot of people have, Nintendo consoles and Sony consoles or Microsoft consoles today, right? So, but I think they definitely are coming for a share of the console market, but how big that share is, we don't know yet, but we're going to circle back to that shortly. So those are the three groups I think are going to be, most interested in the Steam Machine, the groups that Valve is marketing this towards. And I think overall, this is a pretty cool device, an interesting device, and I'm happy to see it come out. I think it's always good to have more variety, more options as a consumer. Now, I do want to just quickly touch on, what do I think the strengths are about the Steam Machine? And one, of course, is sort of this streamlined gaming console approach, right? Being able to just plug it in and play like a console. That's definitely a big selling factor. I think the other one is that, it also functions as a PC, and that opens up a lot of doors, right? That's something existing consoles can't do today. So I'm sure there's some set of people out there that are going to love to get their hands on one of these things and start doing some emulation on it, maybe playing PS2, PS3 games, retro games. Who knows? We don't know exactly how this thing's going to perform, but there's a lot I'm sure that can be done with this thing. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And I think there's a lot of selling factors to the Steam Machine. I also think this is really going to appeal to, less technical audiences, people who don't know much about PCs, who just want to pick up something and play at 4K 60 frames per second, right? So definitely a lot going for the Steam Machine. Overall, I think it's a pretty cool device. I think it's a good thing it's coming out. I'd be curious to try it, but I want to answer the question now. Would I pick up the Steam Machine? Is this something that I want to get in the future? And I've got to be honest, and my answer is no. And the reason for that isn't because I think there's anything wrong with it, because I think, it's not cool. I think it is actually pretty awesome. But for me personally, I've been playing PC games for a long time. I know my PCs, and I'm the type of person that if I want a new PC or a new PC like device, let's say, I'm gonna pick out all the components myself and I'm gonna put it together myself. So I like to get hands-on, I like to get technical, like to pick things out myself, customize. So for me, it's not that compelling because, I could have built a mini PC myself and hooked up a Bluetooth controller, right? And did this before the Steam Machine was announced. And I think there's a lot of people like me, right? And a lot of people on PC that probably aren't too compelled by this device, but there's also a huge amount of people that are less technical, or maybe they're technical, but they just don't care, right? All they care about is the performance, 4K, 60 frames per second, plug and play. I think that's going to appeal to a lot of people as well, and it's pretty good. So just wanted to say, for me, myself personally, not something I'm really interested in at this time, but you never know, what will happen in the future. And I do really want to see more about this device. Now, lastly, I want to circle back to the question, what impact, if any, is this going to have on the console market? And I think at this time, that's hard to answer because we don't know what the price of the Steam Machine is yet. And I think that's a huge question, right? That's going to determine a lot. But one thing we do know is that Valve has come out and said that the Steam Machine is going to be priced more like a PC than a console. So what that means is it's going to be more than a console. And The higher the price, the less market share they're going to steal from consoles, right? I think that's how it's going to play out. So, if it's competing, if it's in the same price range of consoles, which I doubt, it's going to get a bigger market share, right? If it's a lot higher, they're going to get less. So, we really got to see what the price is of this thing. But by and large, I don't think this is a big problem for consoles. I think it's good. I think it's good to get more competition, more variety out there, but I don't think it's going to affect the bottom line of, Sony and Nintendo that much, but over time, if they do well, their market share is sure to grow. So let's see, how this plays out, what the price of this thing is. I'm really curious to know. Um, I do want to say that people need to realize, like, people think that the Switch 2 and the PS5 are expensive. And well, they are expensive, but when you compare them to PCs, like, I think a lot of people don't realize that high-end gaming PCs go for, 2 grand plus. Like, they're expensive. Um, so this device, I'm not saying it's going to be, in the thousands of dollars. I think it's absolutely not going to be. But I'm just saying that, even low-end, mid-end PCs are expensive. So I think that this device is looking to be, in my guess, probably $700 plus. That's where I'm putting it. I think the people who are saying, $700, $800, probably going to be spot on with this, but sky's the limit, right? They can make it better, put better hardware into it. It's going to cost more. We don't know, but I think certainly under a grand. I think 700, 800 is going to be the price range for this. But for them to do 4K 60 frames per second, they say it's a quiet device. You can run Steam on it. There's a lot of benefits to this thing. So I think it's going to be compelling for a lot of people. I'm interested to see how it does and how it performs, especially. But that's it. Just wanted to share my thoughts on the Steam Machine, and definitely leave a comment below. Let me know, what do you think about the Steam Machine? Are you interested? Do you want to pick one up? Would you pick up the Steam Machine over a console, over the future PS6 or the current Switch 2? Definitely let me know below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. So that's it. Hope you have a good time and have a good day.